Jeff and Bill, you're dancing fools. 7 a.m.
You mean we're trying to head for the Broncos cheerleaders? I don't
There's just
think I'm
nothing
that limber.
sexualized about us, Bill. That's the thing.
I'm just not that limber. And God forbid nobody wants to see me in any of those outfits. That's not for children.
Right, exactly.
Even my wife wouldn't be like, ugh, I'm sick. Yeah, that's not good.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City.
I'm so sorry for eating. Please don't imagine that.
Oh, my gosh. Monday, August 18th, 2025. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Well, Aurora suing Jared Polis. Mayor Mike Kaufman is going to join us. The mayor of Aurora is going to give us the latest on this. We're going to talk about the effort by Jared Polis and progressives to turn Denver into Los Angeles. So, and how the mayor and 6 other home rule cities, Arvada, Glendale, Greenwood Village, Lafayette, Westminster, are all trying to hold the governor back and say, well, hold on, can't we make decisions? Isn't that our job with regards to high-density multifamily and transit rules to go, we are elected by our people. Our people. And you can't just airdrop in your progressive, high-density, multifamily, low-cost, affordable housing plans onto us if it's going to harm our communities. We don't want apartment skyscrapers everywhere, Jared Polis. Well, Jarhead wants it everywhere, and folks are fighting back. So we're going to talk with the mayor here in just a minute. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Monday morning, 63 and clear in Denver, expecting a high of 90 today. This portion of the news sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story.
Because obviously things, look, our goal here is not to stage some production for the world to say, oh, how dramatic, he walked out. Our goal here is to have a peace agreement, to end this war, okay?
Secretary of State Marco Rubio on CBS's Face the Nation. Ukrainian President Zelensky in D.C. this morning. The whole bunch of Euro leaders to talk peace. DJT will lead it, Rubio with Margaret Brennan.
And obviously we felt, and I agreed, that there was enough progress, not a lot of progress, but enough progress made in those talks to allow us to move to the next phase. If not, we wouldn't be having Zelensky flying all the way over here. We wouldn't be having all the Europeans coming all the way over here. Now understand and take with a grain of salt, I'm not saying we're on the verge of a peace deal, but I am saying that we saw movement, enough movement to justify a follow-up meeting with Zelensky and the Europeans, enough movement for us to dedicate even more time to this. You talk about the sanctions. Look, at the end of the day, if peace is not going to be possible here, and this is just going to continue on as a war, people will continue to die by the thousands. The president has that option to then come in and impose new sanctions. But if he did this now, the moment the president puts those additional sanctions, that's the end of the talks. You've basically locked in at least another year to year and a half of war and death.
And it's up to Zelensky right now, let's be honest. The DOJ is pulling back on plans to take over the D.C. police force. The administration has rescinded an earlier order that named DEA Chief Terry Cole as emergency police chief. Instead, Metro Police Chief Pamela Smith will stay in charge under Mayor Bowser. Amazing how clean and safe D.C. is this morning. The governors of Ohio and South Carolina are sending a combined 350 soldiers to D.C. to assist federal law enforcement. This comes after West Virginia's governor announced he was sending hundreds of troops to D.C. as well. Florida's Republican Party is changing its plans after Home Depot objected to a recent line of merchandise. The GOP was selling items labeled the Deport Depot. Deport Depot is what the Immigration Detention Center planned for Baker County is going to be called. The design on the merch, though, was similar to that of Home Depot's, and the company took notice. 2 suspects arrested in connection with the Oak Fire in southwestern Colorado on Sunday. 41-year-old Sergio Alanes Jr. and 60-year-old Ross Heirig arrested on multiple counts of 4th-degree arson, according to the Archuleta County Sheriff's Office. The fire originated from a burn barrel and quickly spread throughout a subdivision. He's back. Former FBI Director James Comey, as you heard Jeff and Billy talk about last hour, part 2 of the most cringe post ever in the history of mankind. Lock him up.
I think that's because Taylor Swift produces great art, but also because she models something. At every stage of her career, she's shown a certain way of being that resonated with my kids and also felt right to me as a parent. And she's still doing that as a grown-up. Like a lot of you, I struggle with how to stand up to bullies without letting their meanness infect me and change me. You may have seen that the governor of California has been generating a lot of attention lately by posting on social media in a satirical way where he mocks Donald Trump and his all-caps megalomania and his absurdity. And I find it very funny. Hilarious, yeah, even sometimes. But I got to be honest, it also leaves me with a strange feeling at times because I don't want us to become like Trump and his followers. There are far more decent, honest, kind people in America than there are mean jerks.
You're a mean jerk, and you're a bully. You are a POS, and I can't wait to see you on your book tour if you come in.
That would be good.
Garbage. Rocks over the Diamondbacks. Dodgers in town tonight. Broncos beat the Cardinals over the weekend, and training camp continues. I don't think there's an official end to training camp yet. I haven't seen that. 61 in Arvada, 62 in Lone Tree, 63 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Let's talk our friend Dan Caplis with Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for well over a decade. This guy's got a sterling reputation for delivering justice if you are hurt in an injury case. Dan Caplis, the son of a police officer and former seminarian who's dedicated 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado state history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. So if you need Dan's help, give him a call. Here's the phone number, 303-770-5551. Why don't you put this in your phone right now? because if you're hurt in an injury case, you don't want to be scrambling to try to find him. If you're hurt in an accident, slip, anything like that, you can call Dan Caplis right away, get your team going, help get justice for you if you've been hurt. So here's the phone number again, 303-770-5551, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplis.law.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S, law.com. We are working, and we're going to have the mayor join us here in just a second. What we're talking about is this brewing lawsuit between 6 counties and the state of Colorado over future development and who gets to have the control. Basically, what you're getting with the left and with progressives like Jared Polis is they want to fundamentally transform our communities to look like major cities, to look like almost kind of like European cities in some cases. They want bike lanes everywhere. They want you riding bikes. They don't want you, which is weird in Colorado because not only is it cold for good portions of the year, but the entire city was developed essentially after we had cars. That's why you have really long, straight lines like Broadway, long, straight roads like Broadway that go straight all the way down. If you've lived in places like Virginia, for instance, they're windy. They're all over the place because it was built during horse and buggies. But here you got those straight, long roads, and they want to force the counties and cities to be able or to have to develop high-density multifamily. Guys, we are on the cusp. I'm not exaggerating here. We're on the cusp of a fundamental transformation of the state of Colorado, the city of Denver, to look a lot more like Los Angeles. And these 6 counties are fighting back. We're going to talk to Mayor Mike Kaufman coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Folks, one of the biggest battles brewing in Colorado isn't about roads or water. It's about who gets to decide how communities grow. Governor Jared Polis has pushed through sweeping housing mandates that override local zoning, and to make sure cities fall in line, he's now tying hundreds of millions of dollars in state funds to compliance. 6 cities, including Aurora, are now suing the governor, saying this is a direct assault on Colorado's constitutional promise of home rule. Let's go to the phone lines. Melissa, Denver. Good morning, Melissa. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. I'm kind of going to say some of the same stuff I always say, but I feel violated that he forced all those illegals on us, and then to find out that they handed out all those CDL licenses to a lot of them, and then they're forcing us on bikes, so we have to be on the road with them, and the bicyclists still have to deal with the potholes that aren't being fixed. I mean, it's like almost like they're piling so much stuff on us that we'll be confused. Like, we don't know what our priorities are in Colorado anymore.
Yeah, overwhelm the system. You see it. I mean, Trump kind of did the same thing when he came into office, right? We're just going to run with a lot of our agenda and overwhelm the other side. In this case, you have 6 cities and counties that are suing back the governor because, look, he's now tied $280 million to this agenda that he's going to withhold. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm hoping more will come in because I don't know if everybody knows that the semi-drivers, that guy in Conifer, the motorcyclist that was killed in Conifer, that was an illegal with a CDL he shouldn't have had, and the owner of that company has a warrant out for his arrest.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's you're watching the state fall apart. Now, Melissa, I got a question for you. If these cities and counties that are suing the governor, he's withholding $280 million because he wants to drive his housing agenda. If the counties say, nope, we're not going to do it, you're just going to have to withhold the $280 million. Here's my question to you, Melissa. Would you pay more in taxes if it meant you could have more control over your local zoning?
Yes. I just thought of a question, though. Yes, I would. Does Trump have the power to, can the mayors actually go in together and maybe get protection from their own governor because he's doing, more, say Conifer gets in on it. Can Trump come in and say, no, you can't do this against their wishes?
I imagine he could because he's threatened to withhold funding based upon immigration and becoming sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So he could.
At that point, is Trump doing exactly the same thing Polis is doing? And so what the question I have there is, I understand Trump coming in, but is this just an example of 2 wrongs making a right? And I appreciate, Melissa, that you went there, because one of the questions I've got is, if people think that Mayor Kaufman should be able to sue the governor and stop him from imposing these type of regulations on home rule, remember that D.C. was under a home rule order, and Donald Trump took control temporarily for 30 days of the police department. He's taking over the idea of an area that is home rule. It is a little bit different because it's not a particular state or city or town. The District of Columbia is a little bit different, but he has postulated doing the same thing in other states. And so would we say that, well, if Governor Polis can't force these type of housing developments on Aurora and other, towns and municipalities in the state, should Donald Trump then be able to, because Colorado or Denver is a sanctuary city, come in and take over our police department, or basically use the National Guard to enforce law? There are 2 horses. It depends on which way we're riding on these, Melissa. I mean, that's the thing that I think is difficult.
Give the police department the power to pull over the people with no license plates, at least.
Oh, that's ridiculous. The thing for me is this, okay? The people that have no license plates, or the people that have expired license plates, I personally think it should be legal to get them up into the wall and do whatever you need to the car. I'm fine with that, and your insurance should cover it, or we should have some sort of a public fund. Yeah, if they're going down the highway and you do the pit stop maneuver and they spin out and off into, I'm fine with that. Y'all haven't registered your car; not that important to you anyway. I'm fine with that. I'm okay with this.
Well, right. Well, have a good week.
Melissa, sure appreciate the call. Melissa's line will be open 303-696-1971, or text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Bill, what's worse? Skyrocketing housing costs.
Oh, I thought you were going to say ska music. Sorry.
Yeah, right. Skyrocketing housing costs, which is the motivation for Jared Polis, right? He's going, it's too expensive. We don't got enough, and plus I want to look like Los Angeles. Skyrocketing housing costs or state overriding local decision-making.
Ooh, I like that. That's a really neat intellectual exercise. So skyrocketing housing costs versus the state overriding. The thing for me that, just based on the way that I'm wired, and I don't expect anybody else listening to the Jeff and Bill show to agree with me in any way, shape, or form on this. Some of you could, and you may be mistaken. Listen to the show a lot. The thing for me, the overreach, is the state mandate. That's the part for me that crosses the boundary, because I see that as more of a larger umbrella that creates a lot more problems than trying to deal with housing. And I also don't think that the government is going to be able to, at the core, mandate affordable housing. And the reason I say that is because outside of price controls, Joe Biden couldn't control the price of eggs. Outside of price controls, Donald Trump can't control the price of beef, which is at a record high right now. We don't talk about it. We talked eggs before the election. Now beef is at a record high. Don't believe me? Go look what you're paying for a pound of ground beef. Go look at, it was a thing where this weekend, King Soopers was running, 3 pounds for $20. $20 for 3 pounds, and that was their special. So ground beef and beef is at the highest price we've had in a long, long, long time. That is not going to be solved through price controls. So that's where I disagree with the idea that the government, whatever that government can be, insert your name here, is going to be able to create affordable housing through rules and regulations. I don't think they can manipulate the market that way. So I would say the problem is the government overreach. Sir, what do you think?
Well, look, to your point.
Yeah.
And there's so many directions
there are.
Because I'm like, let's talk minimum wage. If that's what you believe, Bill, let's talk minimum wage.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I get it. Yeah.
In this case, you have to understand the motivation of Jared Polis and Mike Johnson. I think that's really, really important here.
Okay, talk to me about that.
Okay, so that motivation is they want big city, mass transit, bike lanes. You see it everywhere, right? They're putting millions of dollars into RTD, and nobody rides it. Okay, because they somehow believe just a little bit more. If we could just get, now let's subsidize their scooters. Then people will take this and start using it. They're so driven with this kind of big city mentality that they're going to build light rails everywhere that nobody rides. They're going to pay bus drivers to drive buses that nobody rides. They're now going to incentivize you with funding to scooters with the hope that it'll all work out. So that's one aspect, right? Then you have the bike lanes that are being built everywhere, and they're taking out roads, lanes to put in these bike lanes with the belief that, one, traffic's going to get so bad you're going to want to ride your bike because it's going to be a lot more efficient, and that's going to help the environment. So a lot of this is this motivation to build and fundamentally transform the city of Denver into a big city that everybody rides mass transit, okay? And then you have a housing crisis, which I actually think is being fixed right now. I think we're in the middle of it because you see that people aren't buying homes in Denver right now. They're priced too high. And so you have all these homes that are sitting on the market right now that are not being sold, in part because of interest rates as well. That's part of it. But I think the market's overinflated. You see these like homes for $600,000 that are like postage stamps, single family ranch homes for $600,000. So it's got to solve itself. But what they want to do is force these communities, and this is a sore point. I wrote an opinion piece in the Gazette about this, about how much control a locality should have when it comes to the developments that's taking place. So Elbert County is developing a lot right now because it's still within that 1 hour radius of the city of Denver. So people can drive to work and it's not like a crazy commute. So developers want to come in and build
I would
essentially.
Say an hour is somewhat of a crazy commute. I mean, that's the idea is, and the only reason I say that, the idea of an hour being a crazy commute is because if I told you, hey, you can get in your car this morning and within 15 minutes you can drive yourself to work, or you can get on the bus and get there in an hour. That hour on the bus is a crazy commute. And so that's it, is that time, that time suck. And that's the different delineation. We build 1 hour outside the city because we still have independent control of when and where we're going to leave. And that's the odd part in this entire psychological exercise, is me driving for an hour in my car isn't considered a crazy commute, but me getting in a bus and taking an hour downtown is a crazy commute. Yeah, it's all about perception. But again, you're right that RTD is vastly inefficient, and I think there's some problems based on models that they're going to have to get to, and part of the solution is robo-taxis, but I don't think they're going to get there, but that's for another day. But yeah, go ahead.
So, that is the solution.
Way another day.
That's definitely where it's going to come from. And they're going to be powered by nuclear power batteries. I mean, somewhere out by DIA, all those robo-taxis will go and get charged by nuclear power, and then they'll turn around. There
are two versions right now that have not going to be available in the U.S., but two companies that have debuted a solid-state battery that are very intriguing, because that'll solve the problem here in the cold. But for me with RTD, it's robo-taxis, and you could even still do with the large park and rides downtown if you had the robo-taxis take someone to the train, and the train was running every 10 minutes, and then you would cycle the train into downtown.
Yeah.
If it took me 10 minutes, 15 minutes on a robo-taxi, get on the train, the additional 8 minutes into the city, and I don't have to worry about parking or anything else. Okay.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense, but the way we've got it right now is stupid.
There's a big debate happening in Elbert County right now over development. In fact,
interesting.
The current county commissioners, at least two of them, were put there, from my perspective, in part because of a reaction against the previous county commissioners that allowed too much development. Okay, because you have, there's big acres, big ranches out there, thousands of acres, right? And people that have been in ag for decades and decades and decades are selling, and nobody can buy 1,000-acre ranch, right? Nobody can, unless you're a developer.
Yeah, that's
right,
it.
And that's it.
Yeah, investment can.
Investment can. So they're buying up these 1,000-acre ranches and then putting in like 1,400 homes on them.
Yeah,
2,000 homes on these ranches, and they're jam-packed tight. And the people that went out to Elbert County to live on ranch property and horse property and stuff like that don't like Elbert County becoming Aurora. So then there's this effort that was called Keep Elbert County Rural, and then that affected the county commissioners and who got elected. It was a big conversation all within, Bill, Elbert County. We got to have that discussion about what we want our county to look like. Who's going to be there? How many homes are we going to allow? What are those houses going to look like? How does this all fit with property rights, right? It all was a big debate all within Elbert County. It was with our neighbors, all that stuff. What you have here is Jared Polis airdropping in to these counties like Arvada, Aurora, a bunch of other ones. Let's see if I'll pull them up here. Greenwood Village, Lafayette, Westminster, Glendale, and saying, oh, that little conversation you're having. Oh, that's nice. I appreciate you guys are having it.
Yeah.
By the way, I get to make the decisions now.
Yeah. It's like, isn't it cute that you guys are talking about this, but you don't have any power here. It's adorable.
I got 280 million bills, baby.
Yep.
And if you don't do what I tell you to do, that's not coming your direction. Yeah. So that's where I get frustrated, because I think the housing is naturally going to hopefully work itself out. And I say that because part of the problem as to why we don't have affordable housing is all the construction defect laws that we had on the books.
That is a problem in Colorado. There's another layer that I had not considered until about a month ago. And I just want to walk through a couple of things here. One is I was listening to an economist, and this person talked about part of the problem in the housing market right now. And this economist was talking about the resistance for housing prices dropping. Now, we are seeing it because we have oversaturation in the Denver market. But this person was talking about, why did we see this rapid increase in prices, and why aren't we seeing the decrease? And the economist was saying it's assets. And the issue being, and some of the people listening to the show aren't going to like this, is they said that the people that are in the investment class, the people that are doing a lot of the investments, their money is out earning GDP. Their money is growing faster than gross domestic product is. And at that point, they have to find vehicles in order to continue the investment to have their money grow. They don't want it to shrink. Part of that, and one of the best ways to do it, is investment in real estate. And so what you have is you have these large developers and large investment groups buying huge tracts of land or even individual properties. But since they can come in and pay the price that is asked or pay in cash and get a better deal, the idea being, let's say that you have a house just for fun, you have a house or property for $500,000. Now, a average couple, two-person, dual income earner, they're going to look at it and they're going to come through and say, can we do this for $500,000? And it's going to be a loan, everything else. But the investor could come in and say, I'll give you $450 cash. Now, it would be much better for that family to be able to get the $450. But because it's cash, the investor is allowed to pay less than what the other person can. And because it's cash, many times it goes there. Now they can invest in that property. And the person is saying that there's a cycle that is happening right now in property investment you're probably experiencing in Elbert County that prevents some of those entry-level houses from being there. Although they did say something else that was very interesting. And this was an exercise. They didn't exercise on taking, and it was weird because my father-in-law had also talked about this recently, taking a particular plot of land, whatever number of acreage. I think my father-in-law did it with like 1,000 acres, and just said, okay, based on zoning, what could I chop that up for houses? And then what's the lowest point in Colorado that I could do as far as affordable housing? And based on what this economist said, my father-in-law had done a separate exercise, and he said you can still make hundreds of millions of dollars making the affordable housing here in Colorado. However, if you just increase that house price by 200, 300,000, oh boy, do you get rich.
Right.
Wow, the amount of money you make exponentially explodes. And this was the interesting part is, he said, what if, and it's not a great solution, but okay, what if you wanted to disincentivize building those larger properties and larger mansions for the large developers, not for an individual homeowner, but for large developers? If they build affordable houses, your tax rate is X, but it goes up dramatically if you build the larger houses. So that's the difference. But again, he's saying it has to be an individual choice, and it wouldn't make any sense necessarily in Elbert County, per se, to go out there, as you're talking about, and building large tracts of affordable housing, because I'm going to tell you, where Jeff lives, it is not going to be affordable for the average family to then commute into the city.
Right, it's
that's
an hour.
The problem.
And there's no buses. They don't even actually have buses out there.
That's the problem. So building affordable housing where you live is stupid.
Then, Bill, add on this. Metro districts.
Oh, yeah. That's
so
fun.
developers don't even take any financial risk anymore.
No.
Because it gets funded through the structure around metro districts.
Yeah.
So you end up paying a ton. Now these developers are actually doing the loans to the home purchasers themselves.
Yeah. Which
so
I bet.
they've become banks.
Yeah. Which, again, we've seen those banks just, and no, they make a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah. So again.
So if you're a big developer, you not only don't take out the risk because you have the metro districts are going to back and basically the homeowners are going to pay off the loans.
Yep.
You can now provide the loans themselves. And here's what we've seen out in some of the developments by our way.
Yeah.
They can undercut what you can get from a bank.
Yes.
Okay. So this is important. When you go to sell your house, you can't sell it.
You can't sell it because you're underwater. Yeah.
Well, you can't sell it because if somebody wants to go get a mortgage, they have to go to the bank.
Yeah.
Okay. But if they're putting in 2,000 homes and they haven't fully built out the development, guess what the homeowner, the new buyer's going to do? They're going to go over and get the loan from the developer at a cheaper rate than the bank. So once you buy that house, you're stuck with it.
Yeah, you're stuck.
You're stuck with it. It's wild. So, anyways, Jared Polis coming in and saying,
awful.
you know, I'm going to tell you what to do. At least the counties can affect what they want their communities to look like via their own elected leadership, right?
Yes,
you don't
absolutely.
like the development coming in, you can replace the county commissioners. In this case, Jared Polis now making the decisions for you. I'm glad these 6 cities and counties are suing.
And in and of itself, why shouldn't the people in Aurora, in Adams, in Elbert County, in Grand County, in Summit County, why shouldn't they, the people live there, have the power to make the decisions based on affordable housing? Why aren't they the people that are most impacted by those decisions, and they're the people that are most invested in the community? It is ridiculous in my mind for the state to come in and tell you you have to build the affordable housing here because, again, the people in that community understand the demand. We talked about it with Jeff in Elbert County. Affordable housing, track home, all those condos, apartments, whatever it is, isn't going to do a damn thing in Elbert County. One, you don't have the other stuff out there, build out, you know, the idea of the supermarkets and the strip malls.
We got one.
Yeah.
We got one supermarket.
And you don't want, and you don't want a boom, and you don't want a boom around there because if you guys did, you'd live somewhere else. The other part is the people that are in that affordable housing target are not going to be able to afford the longer commute times. That's the thing you need to understand. I understand Polis talking about building high-density housing near rail lines, but then you've got some real problems there as far as telling people where and how to do that as well.
Yep.
So, yeah, but it makes no sense where you guys are, but the state shouldn't be doing this.
Well, if you do have a home and you need to update it, we got the solution for you, Gyrie's. I've had a chance to go in. I had never been in a Gyrie's until recently, and typically if we wanted to improve our home, we went to one of those big box stores where you're essentially on your own. You're wandering around. Some guy may hand you paint, but I couldn't tell you the difference between this type of paint and that type of paint, and you're kind of stuck. And by the way, the guy handing you the paint was working in a different department last week, so you're not getting real expertise. Went into Gyrie's, and it's like a whole nother level of professional design work, okay? They walked us through everything, help us find perfect solutions to enhance our look and functionality of our home. They brought out samples, came out to our house. We were able to look at how the blinds will look in our house, the color. So as the light comes in, you're getting a real sense, an honest sense of what the coloring is going to look like. The designers are experts. They can help you with everything from window treatments to full room decor, paint, and more. Here's the best part. They offer a personalized in-home consultation. Like I said, they'll come directly to you. So you can get the same expert advice right in your home. Do yourself a favor. Get started today. Visit Gyrie's to schedule your in-home consultation. That's GUIRYS.com, GUIRYS.com. Go see the great people at Gyrie's. You'll be sure to thank me. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
fatal semi-truck crash that killed 3 people. An illegal immigrant truck driver has been arrested and faces deportation after allegedly attempting to make an unauthorized U-turn in Florida, resulting in a crash that killed 3 people, Fox News reporting. The man had entered the country illegally, obtained a commercial driver's license in California, has been charged with 3 counts of vehicular homicide in connection with Tuesday's fatal crash, according to a news release from the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles. This is a devastating tragedy made even worse by the fact that it was totally preventable, said White House spokesperson Abigail Jackson. Illegal aliens have no legal right to be in our country and certainly shouldn't be granted a commercial driver's license. Well, you remember Ignacio Cruz Mendoza, who was sentenced to roughly 1 year in jail in August of 2024 when he killed somebody driving a semi-truck on 285. Well, he's been released from jail, immediately detained by ICE and taken away. But question I have is, why in the world do states like Colorado provide illegal immigrants with driver's licenses? It's like, we know you shouldn't be here. We know you shouldn't be here. And yet we're going to hand you a driver's license? The first thing, this just gets me going. The first thing that should be done here in Colorado is, if you show up at the DMV and you're not here legally, well, the person at the DMV should go, all right, John Smith, not here legally, okay? I'm going to pick up the phone and call ICE. But not in Colorado. No, not in Colorado. In fact, what we're going to do is we're going to hand you a driver's license. Hey, go get some work done there. And if you were to call ICE as a state employee, Phil Weiser would sue you, likely in your personal capacity, as a violation of civil rights or a violation of this law that doesn't allow you to coordinate with ICE. So the Attorney General of Colorado is going to use his power to come after you. The state hands you a driver's license. If you were in Denver at one point, you got 6 months of apartment living, an ATM card to go buy groceries, free legal service, and workforce training. Why? What is it with the coddling of illegal immigrants that I don't understand? Bill, do you think illegal immigrants should have driver's licenses or even a CDL license?
I think they're different. I would not go as far as CDL, but some foreign worker permits I do think could allow for a CDL that would seem appropriate, again, depending on migrant work and other things. But that would someone that would have to be vetted, etc. But other than that, no. Driver's licenses, I am more malleable on, only because if we have a driver's license, that means 1, we would know where they are, who they are, and where they live. 2, it means they would have been tested and understand what our rules are. We can go back to earlier in the show and Melissa talking about all the people driving around without any license plates on, or all those temporary tags that have expired. Some of those illegals, some of those actual Americans.
Oh, yeah. No.
But again,
just lazy people.
Again, yeah, but not following the rules, etc. And so the idea is that if we have some people, even though some of us on the show can say we don't want them here that are here illegally, but if they are, and the argument has been, they don't assimilate. If they are going to go through the process and procedure to get a restricted driver's license, I don't think it should be a commercial driver's license. I would not do that. But for them to have a regular driver's license here, yes. And the reason being is, once you tell me who you are, once you tell me where you're staying, once I have your picture, once I have your fingerprints, and you have taken a class and demonstrated competency with the rules of our road, I am going to posit that you are going to be in the group of people that is least likely to do the crimey stuff that we're worried about. You're probably not, if you have an illegal driver's license here, you're probably not showing up at an Aurora apartment complex and extorting money from people or going in there and pulling out their fingernails. So if that is part of the group, I'm okay. I understand it's imperfect. I'm not 100% happy with it. But to me, it seems like that's the group of people that are least likely to go out there and do all the crimes that we are worried about with the illegal immigrants in this country. We can deal with that after the crimey people are done. We can deal with whether or not what we're going to do with them, in my mind. But that's just my side.
Let's go to the phone lines. Mary, Wyoming. Good morning. Mary, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hi, good morning. Most people ask, how do they get a commercial license? How they do that is the state contracts with private companies like motorcycle and commercial, like truck driving schools and motorcycle schools. And the instructors are, that's how I got my motorcycle license. And that's how the illegals get a commercial license. They enroll in a truck driving school. Those instructors are allowed to not only train them, they use their trucks to give them the driving test, and they are authorized by the state to be able to issue, to authorize the issuing of the commercial license.
My understanding, Mary, is that the person that is getting that, though, does have to be authorized to work here in the U.S. So the idea being that someone couldn't, say, sneak into the U.S. under the cover of darkness or come up the Rio Grande and then show up at a truck driving school and then get a CDL. They would need to be able to present authorized work documents in the U.S. first, according to what I'm seeing on the interwebs. And that could be wrong, but that's what they're saying is in order to get a CDL.
Well, that's not what I saw, because when I was at DMV, I saw their class was all together, their instructor. They had to go to DMV to get the written test done. And there they were, not speaking English, with their instructor, all of the little group on the side there, and they were taking the test.
But they still could have. They still could have had
and
authorized.
Also, the manual, the
Mary,
manual is in Spanish too.
That all can be true, but all of that would not say that any one of those individuals did not have an authorized work visa or permit. We can have people that came in for decades and decades. We've changed it, but would come in here. They didn't speak Spanish, but they were authorized to work, and they were migrant farm workers, and they picked our berries and our oranges and our apples. They didn't speak Spanish, but they did have a work authorization visa. And someone here that didn't speak Spanish could have a work authorization visa. I don't know about that specific issue.
But do you think that's absolutely necessary in order to get a CDL?
A work authorization visa, according to what I'm seeing on the internet, yes. That in order to get a commercial CDL, you have to provide a work authorization visa. Now, could you provide a fake one? Okay, because we've seen that based on E-Verify.
Like E-Verify is almost worthless at this point.
But we've seen that. So could they provide something that is fake? Yes, absolutely. And then we can talk about the fakeness. But I think we have to get in the conversation beyond the idea that just because someone is in the country illegally, they can go get a CDL just because they show up to class or just because they take a test. What I'm seeing in the process and procedure, while imperfect, doesn't necessarily mean that's true.
Mary, any response to that?
No, that's not what I was looking at. A whole bunch of folks who were not speaking English in their little group, and when I looked it up, I saw that the manuals are in Spanish. Driving manuals for Colorado are in Spanish along with English.
Which is wild to me. That's so wild to me because your street signs aren't in Spanish. I mean, these
Would you be happier if they were?
And no, it is. You should, if you're going to be driving, especially you're going to be driving commercially, but if you should be driving at all, you should at least understand the language of the country you're driving in. Mary?
So, yeah, I mean, that's my whole point is why do these people be able to have, I mean, not only even a commercial, even a regular one, when they can't even speak and read our laws and rules?
Well, hang on. No. If they get a driver's license, they have to be able to read the signs.
You think so?
Yeah.
I don't think they can.
I think you can look at just I think you can look at just the colors and the design of our signs to be able to tell what, supposedly what they read.
Then doesn't it? Then Mary, with respect, Mary, doesn't that
manual in Spanish?
Doesn't Mary, doesn't that then discount comprehension? That's why it's in Spanish. Doesn't that then discount your point that you have to, if you can look at the colors and the signs and the shapes on the sign, doesn't that then invalidate your point that you have to speak English in order to read the signs?
No, I know.
You just said you didn't. You just said so. I'm only saying what you said.
I'm saying that, and I said I can see that that's how they do it, because that's what I would do. I don't drive in other countries when I've been in other countries, but I mean, we have it. It seems to be universal. Stop is going to be that octagon, and et cetera. My point is, so yeah, although I can't read the print on it, I do have an idea of what it means.
I just find it weird that they have a driver's license manual in Spanish.
That's because of comprehension.
But help me understand what that means. What do you mean comprehension?
It means that the understanding of the language is probably going to be more in depth in their native tongue. So if you get that manual in Spanish, and Mary, I appreciate the phone call, we're running out of time, is that you will have greater comprehension of what the laws are than trying to interpret what the laws are through another language.
Bill, I'm going to go back to my original statement. This state will bend over backwards to accommodate illegal immigrants. Instead, if you show up at a driver's DMV and you're an illegal immigrant, they should notify ICE and you should go home. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS.